days late. Learned something which I knew really, but I should just record these at the time that I've set aside to do it. Rather than what I did on Friday was I went, oh, I'll just do this so I can report that I completed something. Of course, I didn't quite complete it in any case. And it led to delay of recording, which if I want to build up my viewer base, I think it's a poor idea. So I will do my very best to do it every Friday morning. Having said that, this week it will be Thursday morning, because on Friday I will be in Sydney as a part of the New South Wales state team on reserve. This is in croquet, of course. I'm reserve this year. On Friday we're having training, and then on the weekend we'll be playing our doubles as a warm-up for the event. So what's happened in the past week and since I did the first recording? Well, surprisingly, I was surprised to learn that I got 66 views of the first week's episode on YouTube. 4 people subscribed to the channel. Be nice to bring that number up, and 5 comments were left. The comments were both helpful and encouraging, and I thank everyone who did that. I also picked up only 3 subscribers to my MailChimp newsletter account. If you'd like to subscribe to that, I will attempt to add it to the comments on YouTube, but in the meantime you can go to tinyurl.com/timITnews. That will redirect you to my MailChimp account, where you can sign up to get weekly newsletters, maybe twice a week, but certainly to begin with it'll be once a week to announce this video. So that leads me into the first segment for today's video, which is Q&A, and I'd like to do Q&A every week. If people send me in questions, I'll do my best to answer them. This week's questions were virtually all about, if not were all about, my first video, and thank you for those who sent them in. So let's get started here. So Claire from Adelaide asks, will signing up for my newsletter cost anything? No, it will not. It won't cost anything to you, and it won't cost anything to me. MailChimp have a free account. If you have, I think it's under 2,500 subscribers. In any case, it's a fair number before I get anywhere near that, and it will never cost the subscribers to the email newsletter anything at all. Our second question, really interesting question, and it's from Joshua, 14. And Joshua asks, are you going to be able to show your computer screen during videos to explain and demonstrate what you are doing? Joshua, that's a really, really good question. And the answer is yes. To be perfectly honest, I don't know how to do it yet, but I do know that Google Hangouts has that ability. And yes, over time I will be producing some how-to videos on things that I think sort of normal computer users might use, but I'll also do some videos on programming, so that people who would like to learn some more on programming, hopefully I can pass on some of that knowledge. I have taught in the past technology, and I do enjoy doing it. It's really interesting to me. It will be interesting to see how I like it when I don't have the feedback from the people that I'm teaching, but a lot of people do it online and they enjoy it, so I'll be interested to see how that goes. Next up, we've got Adam from the Shire. He said, the video looked and sounded great. What equipment do I use? I've got a really low-end Logitech webcam. It costs about $20 on Amazon at the moment. It really doesn't take anything much at all to create these video clips. Any modern laptop, even older ones, have front-facing cameras, so you could use those. iPads, and I'm sure many mobile phones will be able to do it as well. So if you want to get into it, that'd be fantastic. And on that front, while I'm at it, I'd love to have people join me online and ask me questions in real time. So if you're interested in doing that, drop me a line, and we'll see, we'll organise a time that's convenient for both, and we'll have a Google Hangout with more than just me. And our last question for this week is Greg from Carlingford asks, what is an entreprogrammer, and exactly what are your plans? How are you going to make money? That's a great question, Greg, and it's certainly I should have explained what an entreprogrammer is. It's a term I've borrowed from a group of guys who run a program called run a podcast, I should say, that run that they call themselves entreprogrammers. They each of them develop products and sell those products to the public, and that's what I intend to do. Now, what that product is, I have some ideas in my head at the moment and jotted down on notes. To date, I haven't decided what that will be exactly. I'll have more about that maybe next week. But most likely I will be writing a website that will provide a service of some description and taking monthly subscriptions from people to use that website. At the moment, the website, which is my showcase or portfolio, so to speak, is croquetscores.com. That doesn't have monthly subscriptions, but I do receive donations from people from time to time, and that's given me encouragement as to the sorts of things that I'd like to look at doing is writing websites like that and trying to be able to add a subscription plan to that to make some income from it. Along the way, I'll probably pick up some short-term contracting work. I've got my fingers still crossed for a client in the US coming up shortly, but they'll be very short-term projects, under 2 months. And while I'll support them, they will really be, once I finish the job, that's it. Move on. And if they come back later on with a whole set of new requests, well, that's fine. But it won't be a day-by-day, week-by-week scenario of them asking me for work to be done. Right. So what did I do this week? Or this past week? One thing which was very interesting and somewhat out of the blue was I sent a tweet last week having a whinge about the Azure portal. Azure is a cloud-based system from Microsoft, which I host my servers on, including croquetscores.com. And they've been designing a new management portal for many months, I think over a year. And it's very pretty, but it's not very practical. And I had that whinge on Twitter. And one of the project managers replied to me and asked to be in contact. And subsequently we set up a phone call, and we talked for over half an hour about how I thought that their new site could be improved, and it was really interesting to see Microsoft be that responsive, and he was very interested in what I had to say. He said that he's talking to a lot of people, different types of people, programmers, managers, etc. And naturally enough, getting lots of feedback, and you're putting that all together, and we're signed up to have another chat again on Thursday. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that I have now finally completed the automation scripts, ironically enough, to create my Azure virtual machines. What that means is I believe that tomorrow or the day after, I will be able to start developing my new website, which will be timmurphy.it. So what the automation scripts mean is that if I need a new virtual machine or need to replace the virtual machine being the web servers, then I just have to run the script and it will go out and do it for me without any prompting or etc. So that's been a long process. I've learned a lot on the way, and I'm reasonably sure that it's now complete. I just need to actually run it one more time, fingers crossed, one more time to actually produce production servers, and I'll be set to go. What the third thing that I started last week was a rewrite from the ground up of croquetschools.com. I did this for several reasons, and one of the reasons was I decided that it would be a very good vehicle for me to improve my estimating of work, how long something will take, and how I see it improving that is I will be recording the time that I spend on the rewrite very religiously. My plan is to record the time based on features. So for example, at the moment I'm working on the feature to register as a user of the account of Croquet Schools. So every time I sit down and write some code for that, I'm starting the timer in a web application called harvest.com. And what I hope that will allow me to do is create a spreadsheet showing me what features took how long. I'll give each feature a bit of a weighting system, probably as simple as easy, hard, and medium. And hopefully I'm going to be able to say, right, hard features do take me this long to implement, medium this long, etc. And so then my plan is I can then use that data when I do have another contract. Excuse me. Before I start work with anyone, it's a case of writing up what features will be required. And so I'll stick them into those ratings, and hopefully I'll have some real data to work with. So that's it on the work front for this week. On the personal front, I always want to include one or two items, and this week I do have two. One was we had a rent reduction, which was for our house, which was fantastic. We'd asked for that for some months ago, and it just took them time to get around to crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But yeah, $20 a week was knocked off our rent, so that's always handy, better in our pockets than the landlord's. On the other side, I've played a couple of games of croquet now since being allowed back on the court from the broken elbow. I completed a triple peel in my second game back, which I was very pleased with. I can't play rolls with a standard grip as I'm used to. I'm having to play them with a Solomon grip. Croquet players will understand what I'm saying there. And they're going okay, but fortunately I'm playing well enough that I don't need to do very many rolls at all. So it really isn't an issue. And so I'm very happy with the way that I'm playing, which is good. And then finally, the big part of my life and Nikki's life as well, for the past 3 years, is I had a stroke nearly 3 years ago. It's month and a half off 3 years, on the 1st of April. Yes, April Fool's Day. It was a relatively minor stroke. However, fatigue has been a constant battle since having the stroke. And several months ago, I did some neurofeedback, which helped me tremendously in the recovery. I got more out of the 3 months of doing neurofeedback than the 2.5 years by miles. And in the past few weeks, since I've got back into action since my elbow, I've really found that my fatigue has been a lot better. I'm able to do a lot more work than I used to be able to. So while I still fatigue, I have to manage it, and my tongue is still hypersensitive to foods. Yeah, things are looking up as far as the stroke's concerned, and the recovery from it. So I have to gain some more, but if this is as good as it gets, it's a lot better than it looked like 6 months ago. So I'm very pleased about that. So that's the end of number 2, week in review. As I said earlier, this week's recording for this week will be on Thursday morning, and I will start the recording at 6 a.m. without fail. Anyone who wants to join me, please drop me a line. tim@26tp.com is the best place to email me at the moment, or Twitter @timpmurphy. And finally, please sign up to YouTube, to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, subscribe to my newsletter at tinyurl.com/timITnews. Thanks again for listening to my ramblings for the week, and I'll catch you on Thursday.